with that. Certainly the severity of things, well, for instance, like the Harvey Weinstein situation, where there are accusations of serious crime, rape, and so forth, and clear abuse of power. There's an understandable reaction that needs to happen so that this person is protected from their own behavior, that they don't do it anymore. But you look at that in relation to someone like Al Franken, who made very sincere efforts at apologizing to this woman whom he inappropriately kissed during a USO tour, and while she was sleeping, tried to do a funny photo in which he was groping her. These were things he deeply regrets, and he explains how and why he regrets them, and why he feels he was wrong. And this woman has forgiven him, but Al Franken has taken it a step further and certainly offered to have the Senate investigate his activities. And that says something about the quality of a person. Louis C.K. also, and it hadn't gotten much coverage, but he gave a very detailed response to the allegations that 5 women had against him, in which they were, or felt that they were forced to watch him masturbate. First of all, he didn't deny any of it, which is something very unusual in a lot of these cases. He said that the accusations were true. He said that he feels, and he went into a great detail. I can't go into the whole thing, but he showed an incredible sensitivity and understanding of knowing what he had done, knowing how it made these women feel, feeling the remorse that you should when you understand that you have hurt someone or caused them pain. And he explained with a good deal of insight, the motivations behind what he did, and how sad and sorry that he is. If you know him as a comedian, you know he has 2 daughters. So I think he felt very strongly that he needed to talk about this, so that should something like this happen to them, they understand what these situations are like, and that they can, still look him in the eye with some degree of respect. So I believe it's how you handle these situations. You can either handle them with mistrust, suspicion, anger, or you can handle them with sensitivity and even love. So these are all things that we are learning, I think, as a result of this situation. And we begin to understand how connected we are when we understand how our actions really affect other people. So, moving forward then, here we are, the last weekend before the holiday season begins. So take a deep breath and stay in the calm so that you can be prepared for the onslaught, if you will. Next weekend is, of course, this coming Thursday is Thanksgiving. So I'm going to talk about some things in relation to Thanksgiving that don't get talked about often. But first of all, I'll give you some Thanksgiving meal tips for your meal, and then we'll get into the serious stuff. Because Thanksgiving has increasingly become a holiday that I do not celebrate. And there are a number of reasons why. I do appreciate the sense of gratitude that should be behind this, and the sense of families coming together, which is really what Thanksgiving has become. Beyond the historical aspects of it, but it's the historical aspects of it that are still troublesome, particularly for Native people in this country. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but of course I will have to give you your healthy Thanksgiving feast tips. So everybody loves to eat a lot at Thanksgiving, and it's just part of the thing, but there are ways that you can still stay healthy. You can back off a little on the carbs. There's a lot of them: stuffing, dinner rolls, mac and cheese, all of those tasty things. One way to do it is just a little taste dish. Just a spoonful of one, another spoonful of another, little dabs, which will fill you up more quickly, and not allow you to, gorge yourself on one or the other. So little taste dishes will do. Watch the sodium in your cooking if you're cooking. Sometimes if you're not cooking but you're the guest, you don't have a choice to know exactly how much sodium has been put in, and it's kind of an awkward thing to ask your host about if you are not. If you are just a guest. But one thing you can do is taste the food first and see how salty it is before you add salt. And if you need to, just do a little bit, because sodium can really hike up your blood pressure. It can really cause you heart disease problems. So it's something to think about. And a lot of vegetables, if you're cooking again. You offer a lot of vegetables. That's something my mom used to do at Thanksgiving time. She'd have vegetables after vegetables after vegetables. Because she knew that people were going to chow down on the carby stuff and the turkey, and vegetables and salad help to slow down the digestion and help to digest those things less rapidly, which causes less of a spike in things like blood sugar and all of that kind of stuff. And of course, for the desserts, everybody loves desserts. But if it's possible to make your own, instead of buying store-bought things, that can help you have a better control over things like your triglyceride level. Because refined sugars and carbohydrates, like those you find in store-bought pies, can really increase those triglyceride levels. So, just something to keep in mind. You can search online for recipes of berries and fruits and things. Well, salmon is a great fish to have, and certainly can be a very crowd-pleasing Thanksgiving dinner if you want to skip the turkey. And some people like to skip the turkey because they feel like it's not all that healthy, or they're just not into meat. So if you're one of those people, or you would just like to skip the turkey this year, you could try tofurkey, which is out there. And there are other various vegetarian roasts that you could use to substitute turkey if you're so inclined to do so. And again, vegetables, salad, root vegetables like oh my goodness, carrots and squash and those kinds of things. Green vegetables like broccoli. All of those things. Vegetables aren't always everybody's favorite, but if you put enough of them out there, there's going to be something that people like. If you're doing the cooking, and if you're just taking food for yourself, try a salad and some veggies, different veggies. All right. So now I've done the obligatory Thanksgiving feast information. Now I want to talk about what it means to Native Americans, because it is considered a day of mourning. Native people associate with Thanksgiving plagues, fires, taking from giving, and this goes all the way back to their ancestors. According to an article by a Native American, Allie Joseph, in Salon.com, the history and generosity and hospitality by the original people of these lands that were taken away and who were destroyed by illness is well articulated in this poem by Alison Adele. Full name Alison Adele Hedge Coke. And her poem is America, I Sing Back. Well, before America began to sing, I sung her to sleep, held her cradleboard, wept her into day. My song gave her creation, prepared her delivery, held her severed cord, beautifully beaded. My song helped her stand, held her hand for first steps, nourished her very being, placed her three sisters strong. And I told you about the story of the three sisters. And of course, that all of that is true. The Native Americans were the ones that helped the original settlers that came from Europe to survive, because they had landed on this land and they were dying by many, and the Native how to plant, and that's kind of the story. For the subsequent hundreds of years, Indian people and the wrongs done to their contributions and to them have been forsaken. Again, I'm reading from this article, which is really fascinating. It's in Salon.com. It's from last year, but it certainly applies to this year as well. So she says, on Thanksgiving Day at noon, as they have for the past 46 years, Native Americans whose heritage lies in the band of Indians called Wamapanog will gather on Coles Hill in Plymouth, Massachusetts to commemorate a national day of mourning. The United American Indians of New England's website, which requested organizing and food-serving volunteers for this year's gathering, declares, "We are not vanishing, we are not conquered, we are as strong as ever." It's a message that lives in the hearts and minds of indigenous people around the world. We are still here. And they are. And many of them are very fully functioning, modernized people, but they happen to be living in two worlds, the Western one and the native one. So there are many Native Americans who don't celebrate with a feast at this time.